Hey guys, how's it going? I'm the Duke of Italy, favorite lo-fi music YouTuber, and we're back to No Chin Duke of Italy. I got the pop filter. I can say Push and P, my favorite new song, is a joke. That song is very bad. But, today we're covering something that I'm sure maybe one whole viewer of mine was wondering, and would I cover this album? I don't cover a lot of new albums on this channel. I cover a year-end list every year. But typically, I don't cover albums right after they come out. I used to do that, but it's kind of a rare thing for me to do. Haven't done it in a while because not a ton is like felt that urgent. But I felt like since I was pretty much covering this material for the longest time, I might as well cover it. I covered Young Lean's discography up until 2022. I covered Blade's discography, most of the Drain Gang releases, as well as the collaborative releases, and a new mixtape dropped, Young Lean's Stardust, and I felt very compelled to review it for some content because I need more time to finish the math rock chart if you guys have been keeping up with that. But Stardust, this is the fourth mixtape, I believe, from Leandoer himself. He's got a pretty colored discography, a lot of different stuff he went through, and if you watched my discography review, you would know that I'm actually was kind of curious about what was next for Young Lean. And in some regards, after the calamity of Stars, that wonderful little record, we it was kind of confusing because he reached this really interesting sort of like introspective record about himself where he like really talked about a lot of things he went through and how he viewed it. It was also kind of forward thinking as well with songs like Boy Life and EU, thinking about his past, but at the same time he's got songs like Dogman. I believe it was Dogman. It could be Dog Boy, but talking basically about how other people view him and treat him. But with Stars here, we actually get a lot more experimental for Young Lean, and I'm super happy with it. I'm gonna get into the track list in just a second, but I just want to say, looking at how for the past two records, Young Lean had very little features. He had Ariel Pink on one song on Stars, being Stars, and now on Stardust we have multiple features. The entirety of Drain Gang is here. FKA Twigs is here. Skrillex is on two songs. Let's see what we got. And first, we get that aforementioned FKA Twigs feature on the track Bliss. We get this really thick post-punk bass sound, a super organic sounding thing. It's almost like nothing is covering it. It feels like you're really right up listening to it. It's probably the most high fidelity song we've gotten from Young Lean so far. Interesting because it's a mixtape. It does not detract from the quality. I don't know if it builds on it that much, but I think it's just something worth pointing out. Young Lean is shockingly lyrical on this track. He really comes in a whole lot more than he normally does. FKA Twigs on the hook here sounds just wonderful. Her voice works super well with Young Lean's aesthetic. It's really kind of alien sounding. And the song overall is super tight. Very, very pretty short track for how much is going on here. And the really like crushed up hook of Young Lean going bliss on, bliss on, bliss on. Super awesome. I actually just put this song on my party playlist because my 21st birthday is in 2 days as of recording this, so we're gonna be bumping to Bliss. And the next song is Trip. Trip has divided many. I know Fantano just said he didn't like this song, but I actually disagree with what he was saying on it because I actually really like the song. It's got sort of like chime built beat that's super energetic. It's a really nice way to continue the flow of the album, especially after that flaming opener of Bliss. The chorus on this track is super hard, one of Young Lean's best. I like the lyrics of comparing like some women to like peppermint and cinnamon. It's kind of like an abstract way of talking about them. You could argue it's kind of objectifying if you view it that way, but I think it's just like the feeling you get. And I thought it was a really cool idea. It really puts in some interesting views of alt girls and women who use TikTok. And I can't explain this that much. But as of Trip, and for a few more tracks after this, you take Ever Since, that is the dungeon synth of cloud rap, and you take Stardust, comfy synth of cloud rap, and with Trip it feels like that. And we've had sort of dungeon synth-esque qualities before, and now they're even more prominent. But the song has constant energy, and it hits hard as hell, and it's a super fun listen. And next is the track Gold. This track is really sporadic and off-kilter, and the production is like super avant-garde and spacey, and it's just super bizarre, but it's so engaging at the same time. You really just pay attention to every second of this track because of how much it keeps you locked in. But I mean, we're not a stranger to Young Lean being strange, but this kind of goes like a step or two further. And we're not even into the like proper meat and potatoes of like the arc that this mixtape releases. And this is another really lyrical track for Young Lean, and it's another change of pace that is more than welcomed. The next track is Stars to the Rainbow featuring Tyboy Digital. This is viewed as one of the weakest tracks on the album, this and Waterfall. Anyone who says that is absolutely correct. Fortunately, I think those are the only two real bad tracks on this album, and even by bad, I think they both have salvageable qualities, and the approaches to them are both solid as well. First of all, the build to this track here, about 30 seconds or so, sounds really fantastic, and Young Lean's typically flawed vocal style through this specifically extra reverb-filled production style, I think it works pretty well, until it doesn't. It only really works for so much, and then it kind of feels like he's using it too much. Tyboy is actually surprisingly reserved for how he normally goes. I normally expect him to really bring the heat on his tracks, but here it's just not really there. Not sure why. I don't think him being laid back is much of an issue, but what I do think is an issue is that it's not contrasting enough with Young Lean when it's kind of needed. Also, the chorus is a little bit strange. I don't think it goes as well as Lean hoped for, but this is definitely the weakest or second weakest track on the album. Not that I don't love Tyboy Digital. I do. I think he contributes a lot. And the next track is All of the Things. This track is a slower, more ambient approach, and the chorus sounds awesome and floaty, really bringing back that old Grey Goose vibes that he did all the way back on Lavender. I love the feeling that this track brings. I think it's one that Young Lean is really strong with, and I feel like the total ambient approach, although Blade kind of did it on Good Luck, kind of did it on the new Crest with Echo 2K, just kind of dipped into it just barely. But now we got it as a more updated sound, and it's in Young Lean's style, and it works in a different, more depressing emotional direction because he still rocks with that idea. And it's very floaty, but this whole track actually takes a massive left turn as it goes into this massively bass blasted EDM type sound. And as someone who doesn't like EDM, I actually found this rather enjoyable, especially because it feels distinctly darkwave-esque. I think that was a really cool idea. And next is another track that is critiqued a lot, Lips, featuring Skrillex. This song is, I think, honestly way more interesting than people give it credit for. It sounds like a jungle-inspired beat, and it works super well. I think in terms of flow, it's probably his least engaging performance so far, but how I would pretty much compare the song, it sounds a lot like the Cartier God, sort of like intermission from Ice Dancer, which is one of the strongest tracks on that album, by the way. And I think it works super well here. I think it's a really interesting sound. Maybe the track drags a little bit, but I think it works pretty well. I think people are giving it a little too much flack. I'd listen to it again. I totally would. And I think it's an interesting change of pace. I think it's a good way to break up the release as well, especially for Young Lean, who's known to kind of put himself into a hole, especially on his older records, even though a lot of those beats were insanely good. I think people kind of put this track down a bit too much. Next, you get the track Paradise Lost featuring Antwon. In the background, you get this really icy sounding guitar. I know that sounds bizarre, but if you listen to a black metal interlude or an acoustic part, you kind of understand what I'm saying here. Antwon is normally in Swedish, so he sounds pretty cool. He only goes into English a couple times, so judging his bars, I guess, is kind of an ineffective idea, at least for me. If you think the bars are good and you speak the language, let me know. But I think the chorus on this track is great. Antwon sounds really amazing too. He's got one of the best voices to be featured on a Young Lean project. And this kind of brings back the reflective views of his own self-destructive path, kind of calling back to what Stars was doing, a little bit calling back to some other projects as well. But I think this is another phenomenal track. And then we get the phenomenal Summer the Blood featuring Echo 2K, Blade, and Skrillex. And I don't even like Skrillex that much, but let me tell you, I think his production works super well here. It's kind of like the EDM type stuff. Imagine what Blade was dealing with on Good Luck, but I mean, it's a little more, it's covered a little better this time around with the amount of features, because it kind of makes up for some of the flaws that are typically in this production style, and I think it's a way that kind of slides by under the radar of what I would deem to be not good. It kind of it feels kind of sneaky like that. This is not a critique of the art, but it's more an interesting critique on the process of how it works. Not that it's a bad song. I think the song is maybe the best track here. The beat, especially on these babies, beyond incredible. Blade sounds phenomenal and Echo sounds phenomenal, but on the second chorus they come together, and it's sort of like this call and response thing, but it's so smooth. I don't know where Blade got this crazy tight flow from. Echo's always had this in him, but Blade really put out all the stops for this track. And Young Lean, he does take a more backseat role on this track, but his hook is so tight that I really can't complain. And then you get the song Nobody Else. This track has a really floaty and massive release of energy following the dragged out sort of intro here. It's a thing that I think Young Lean used to do on like Unknown Memory, which is super cool. I'm glad it's here. And the production style here almost sounds Dylan Brady-esque, as the percussion here sounds rather metallic. It sounds sort of like a pot and a pan getting hit together, and I think it works super strong, except it is, the texture of it is slightly different. If you heard it, you could tell it is clearly not Dylan Brady doing it, because Dylan Brady has that sound pretty much used for himself, and you could hear it all over his projects, but it's similar in like the thought process. And I think the chorus to this track is great, if potentially a bit too long. And next we get Waterfall. This is another super thick White Armor ambient sort of style production here, and I think that is maybe where the benefits of this track stop. This chorus is not it. It's not. Young Lean, his voice is like croaking so much. One of his bottom 5 vocal performances. It's not great. And the lyrics are interesting about heartbreak. I think the themes are really cool. The vibe of the track, the fact that it's like sort of like fantasizing, and I mean like adding a fantasy element to like the woman of your dreams or whatever, and it being about heartbreak is really cool. And also the lyrics, I mean, kind of explicit in nature for Young Lean. He never really dives into sort of like sexual topics. Here he just tips his toes in a little bit. If the track was better overall and the hook wasn't this bad, I think it could make for a really, really cool song. But the immersion is just kind of broken here, which is a huge shame, because I think if he remade the song, I doubt he would do that, but I think it could sound really good. And then you get the track Letting It All Go. I think this track is excellent. There's this really cool set of synth arpeggios that sort of build up and up and up, and I think it sounds really cool on this one of the most urgent sounding beats. It sounds like it's desperately trying to get into the verse, and it works super well. I think Young Lean, this is probably his 3rd track on the album so far that is just crammed to the brim with energy, and I think it works pretty well. And his flow here is really hypnotic. It's borderline krautrock-esque, dare I say, and it's super cool. I think this is one of his most inventive songs, at least in the scheme of the cloud rap style that he's gone for. It's good, it's short, and it's introspective. And next we get Vision's outro, and it's got like these looped organ hits, and the way it's like the attack setting was like shifted on the organ, or it was just a sample that was looped in a way that's like rather interesting, and it sounds super cool. It's kind of hard to explain here, but if you listen to this, you'll hear that it sounds really interesting. It definitely deviates from how an actual organ sounds just a little bit, because it's how it's looped, but it's very immersive on the other hand, and I think it sounds great. Organ is a sound that I can't get enough of, and I think most people really seem to like if it's done in a way that's appealing. This song also is very introspective, and I think it's another short and strong track. Maybe it's a little too short for the record, but I think everything here is kind of great. So how do I feel about this record here? There are some flaws, but at the same time, you could easily put a couple of these in a top 5 Young Lean song sort of list. Definitely in a top 10. You could honestly, like, if you just cut 2 of these songs, you've got a pretty great EP. And I think what it's going for is super interesting, especially if this is a proof of concept towards a full-length LP, something around 45, 50 minutes. We're going to get something really special, because it's taking a new direction, and I wasn't sure how Young Lean was going to do that, and I'm really happy that he is doing that. But the quality here is certainly inconsistent. Waterfall has a glaring issue, and so does Stars to the Rainbow, both of which were so close to being good. Even Fantano mentioned that. Bless him. But right now, it's not a perfect record. Would I listen to it again? Yes, if I could skip songs without with a healthy conscience, I certainly would listen to it again. But I actually stripped out a couple of these songs and put it in my party playlist for my party that's coming up. So what do I feel about this album? Feeling an eye funny. It's not Lean's best project. Stars is better. think I was a little harsh on stars. Honestly, let's move stars up to come to Brazil territory. I'm feeling generous. I re-listened in a better mindset, so I think we're gonna do that. That's the real rating of this video. I mean, this video is 10 out of 10. You know, I'm fantastic. And if you're gonna criticize me for not showing my chin, just trim my beard. So I'm actually looking kind of good, looking kind of cute, looking kind of fresh. Just about to turn 21. Gonna look even fresher. Gonna look even cuter. Who knows though? We'll figure that out when we get there. But I hope you guys are doing well. What do you guys think of this album? This mixtape here? I've never reviewed a mixtape, at least on its own. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Comments, questions, and concerns down below. And of course, my social media is in the description. Go ahead, follow my things, subscribe to my channel, leave a like, join my Discord server in the description. And I hope you guys are doing well. Have a good day. Bye.